this is Stephen from Design Fusion. We are North America's leading reseller of Siemens PLM software products. In this episode, we're going to be looking at creating seal-off patches using some of the tools found in the MoldWizard bundle. First, though, we're going to look at making a quick edit to this part. So I'm going to extract some geometry from the faces of this part, just so I can simulate what a telescoping shutoff might look in this area. So I've extracted the faces, and now I'm going to extend these out, which will represent the seal-off telescoping down to get that bottom of that clip. Now if I look at the top of this part, you can see that in order to seal that off with an angled shutoff, I would be needing to trim off some of the part here. So I'm just going to get rid of those faces. So that was just for illustration purposes. And we're going to use a synchronous command, replace face. Now this one's great for grabbing a piece of geometry and selecting another piece of geometry and having the synchronous technology update the part for us. So you can see I pick this face and it moves that wall back, and it also grabs the radii that were with it. So now that I've done that small edit to the part, I'm going to go into the MoldWizard tab, and I'm going to use the patching tools in order to create some quick seal-offs. So there's different ways to do that, but I'm going to tell it to investigate the whole body here. I select the body. You can see when I do that, it creates all the loops that it found on the left in a dialog, and on the right here I'm showing you how those correspond to the seal-off openings. So when I apply that, NX will go through and generate all the seal-off patches for you. You can see them building in the fan area there, out to the side. It looks like it did the telescoping patch as well. So we'll go investigate that. Yep, you can see it built the telescoping shutoff and trimmed it to the wall. The inner fan area rolled around the rad. We've got the seal-offs on the end. Now the only one it didn't do here is on the end we have a little opening, but it assumes that's a core rib. So I'm going to tell it that that's not by telling it to create a parting line patch through this area. So now I've brought my parting line down lower. I'm going to investigate the regions that it has. We've got a cavity region there. I can click on the core region. And I also have the ability to create a new region, and that's what I want to do for this area at the end, because I don't want that as a core rib, I want that as a slide. So once you define a new region, you can select your faces. I'll collect them here. And then I apply that, and that builds me a new region. You can see it's color-coded different than the core and cavity. Now I'm going to create those regions and apply the parting lines. Now I'm going to head over to actual parting line creation. And you can see here it's picked up the segment loops of the parting line, and I just need to add the manual one that I added here to it. And once I do that, it starts to generate parting lines because it knows it's got a complete loop all the way around the part. And it makes some assumptions about the parting line and starts to generate them. But what I want to do here is give it some more direction. So I'm going to edit the guidelines of some of the parting line, and I'll go out to the spout area here. And when I click on a parting line area, you'll see it gives me some vectoring, and that's its assumption of which way I want to pull off the parting line. So in this case here, I want to edit that guideline and change it to be along the x-axis. And I can reverse the vector here. So once I've done that and given it additional direction, when I go back into the parting line editor and click on that first segment, it knows that it should apply an extrude to that rather than a different option. And you can see here segment 2, it's now chosen bounded plane. I mean, we could try different options and some of them won't work or aren't appropriate, so bounded plane is the best choice in this situation. So I've applied that one. Now it's trying to do something at the bottom of the handle, and we can see the vectors the wrong direction. So I could edit the guides, or in this case I could just force an extrusion and tell it the vector. And you can see it builds that flat, and then when I apply that, it knows that the next one above that should also follow that direction. And now it's also gone in and done the bounded plane for the rest of it. And I can shrink this down because these only need to be as large as your workpiece. So now we've got the parting lines complete. This is where we go into splitting the core and cavity into actual mold halves. So it's added the parting line to the cavity region of part data, and the same with the core and the slide as well. So the first thing we're going to do now is turn on the cavity, and we're going to apply that, and it brings me to a window where it's trimmed off the cavity block, and you get the option of reversing the normal if it's chosen the wrong direction, but that's okay. I'll do the same with the core here. It's going to grab all that data in the parting line and trim that from a core workpiece. Again, the option to reverse the normal if it's wrong, but that looks good for the core side. So the only thing left is the slide here. You can see it highlights the slide geometry, including that manual patch I added in at the bottom. So we're going to apply this as well. There, it's built our slider, and that looks good. So now the other thing we can do, I'll bring up a parting line viewer, part navigator. Oh, it's on the other screen here. And this is some quick toggles to look through this part. I can turn on slides, turn on and off the core and cavity data. There's some other options in here for the actual workpiece boundary, the actual parting surfaces themselves, the guidelines I've built, parting line. So you can review the data without having to show, hide, and change layers to look for things. Similarly, if we go back into the assembly tree and display the parent, so we're looking at the whole assembly here, we have another viewer that lets you browse through mold halves and various pieces without having to go into your assembly tree and turn on and off individual components. So here you can see I've turned on some pieces, the complete core workpiece. Now once I've got that done, I'm going to add a custom slider into here. Now out of the box, MoldWizard comes with a couple, and you can see I'm going to choose one here. I'm going to bring the dialog box up from the other screen. This one shows you the parameters you can edit in each of the sliders, and you can customize these and make your own sliders as well for your in-house standards. So I'm going to add this one. I'm going to add it at a point. That's my previous slider point. I'll hit apply. Say OK. Now it's dropped it in with the y-axis, and that's not correct in this case, so I'm just going to spin that around. Okay. So there's my slider, and just to show you how that looks, we're going to cut a section through there. And I'll get it a normal section through the slider and the part so we can see what's going on there. And in my assembly navigator, I just want to turn on the line so we can see the section better. So you can see the core cavity, slider nose, the part, and the split. Just going to make that easier to see by changing some of the colors. So we've got the part in sort of an orange, the steel and gray. Now the slide nose here, obviously we'd add a lead-in angle at the bottom, but we can manipulate that after. This concludes our quick look at the NX MoldWizard seal-off and parting line automation tools. If you have any interest or questions about this product or any Siemens PLM products, you can contact us via various methods. Go to our website at designfusion.com and click on our contact page for a list of toll-free phone numbers in your area, or via email at support@designfusion.com. Thanks for watching.